we can't necessarily blame much when it comes to the progressive race that we care about. But on the other races that we're watching, we do have Nancy Mace, just what looks like probably is going to win by 6 or 7 points, much closer than it would have been if not for Trump's influence. Tom Rice over in the 7th district is getting absolutely destroyed, and that seemingly is again because of Trump's influence. There have been election nights that we've done this year where the vote hasn't gone the Trump endorsement's way, but in this particular case, it looks like it had an effect. He's not gonna knock out 2 representatives who dared to cross him, but he's gonna get 1. So he is going after those people. And so at least in terms of the effect that it has on the primary, not just in these races, bear in mind, but if you're a Republican who had even like a tiny little speck of possible rebellion inside of you, night after night after night of watching the Rices go down, are you gonna stand against Trump? If he becomes president again, are you gonna offer literally any opposition to anything he says and does? They won't. Their career would be absolutely done. So I'm blaming him tonight.
Yeah, well, I've said this a million times, but I don't blame him for that at all. I think that's brilliant strategy. Again, in his case, it's not strategy and it's not brilliant. It's just by his nature, it's like him saying bad thing about me no like him, me to destroy him, right? So I know that, but it is correct strategy, even if he stumbled into it, even if he tripped over his long red tie and fell into it. You're supposed to intimidate people in your own party so that they follow you. That is called hardball politics.
Can I blame him for the effect it's gonna have on the country? I mean,
yeah, sure.
That's bad. I get why he's doing it.
But I will say, ironically, then under that logic, I would blame Bernie. Why? Bernie's been fantastic in backing progressive candidates. I don't want you to misinterpret anything I'm saying, okay? Probably the best at it. But as the leader of the progressives, he should have been super tough against the corporate Democrats and tried to eliminate a couple of them and send a message. So I know it's too much to ask for, and I know that's not who he is, but there needs to be some progressive that comes in and knocks out a couple of establishment guys and holds up their head, obviously politically and rhetorically, and says, this is what happens if you mess with a progressive. Now we're voting on Medicare for all. Go ahead, I dare you, right? Or even some simpler, $15 minimum wage. He should have obliterated a couple of House establishment Democrats who were in tough districts where we had good progressives running. He should have done it verbally, etc. Again, I feel bad saying it. It's not who he is, and I don't know why well, I do know why, but I was gonna say it's not fair for the entire weight of the world to be on his shoulders, but we do know why, because he is the leader of progressives. So that's why I mentioned him.
Yeah.
I wonder if, look, it not only not in Bernie Sanders' nature to go after other Democrats, but I wonder if there's something about progressivism itself that makes it more difficult to play this sort of ruthless, cold, killer sort of political instincts that the Republicans engage in, particularly on the right, so freely.
Yeah, no. Who knows? I can't speak for other people's nature, but I'm a progressive, and I will. Not only would I do it, I'm really, really hoping that I will do it. So we just need an opportunity, a progressive leader that'll unleash someone like me, and yeah, no, I have no problem at all. And by the way, that's why I ran for Congress, because I was like, I realized I don't need Bernie to be the enforcer. If I was in Congress, I could be the enforcer, and I hope we could do it here. But we've got to build up more power, etc. Because I would easily say, okay, there, Josh Gottheimer, we're going to eliminate him. We're going to end his career, okay, and then. And say, okay, now we're voting on whatever it is. Oh, Josh voted the wrong way. Perfect, that's it. We're coming for you. And of course, this requires a lot of things that we don't necessarily have. And again, to be fair to Bernie, he doesn't have all the tools that the establishment does. Like in that scenario, what you need is either significant media behind you, so whether it's Bernie or me or anyone else saying it, that it gets covered, right? Or significant money. So you could say you're going to go after Gottheimer, but you better have at least $5 million.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get at least $5 million back at you, right? And so you got to deliver on that promise. But to your point, David, about are there any progressives who have the Constitution for it? I'll raise my hand. Yeah. I've got it. Yeah, I can do that easy.
I think you may be the exception to the rule. I mean, I just think generally progressives generally have been, taken a perhaps more naive view of politics. Maybe it's their nature, whatever it is. Maybe it's from, I don't know, being in the minority, even within the Democratic Party for so long, that it's almost as if, well, some progressives are like, oh, I don't want to have to get my hands dirty. That's not who I am, because I'm all about equality and justice and treating everybody with respect. And sure, that's great to have in terms of interpersonal communications and even sort of policies. But when you're talking about politics, as you know, Cenk, it's not beanbag. I mean, it's tough, it's rough. And I think for progressives to really break through, there has to be more of that sort of killer instinct that you have and other people as well, and realize if you really want to get things done, sure, sometimes you do have to get your hands dirty.
No, you're absolutely right, David. I mean, when you're talking about progressives in Congress, progressives in DC, no, they have not shown an inclination to do that for whatever reason. And it might be that it's not in their nature. And as we've talked about in the past, it's also, of course, because of the massive nuclear-sized gaslighting that happens in DC, where the minute you step into that bubble, they tell you the biggest sin in the world is defying another Democrat, opposing another Democrat. I mean,
non-progressive Democrat.
Yeah, of course. You progressives, you can do whatever you want to. But I'm sure that every time I say it, the audience almost can't believe it. Like, no, because that's so outside of our experience. Why? What's the big deal? You guys disagree on policy. No, in that bubble, if you criticize another Democrat, they say, it's not just that, hey, we're gonna come for you, we're gonna threaten you, although that does happen, as Nina Turner explained after her race. But it's more mainly like, I can't believe how mean you are. Hey guys, do everybody see how mean Rashida's being? What a terrible person she is. Everybody agrees she's a terrible person. And to David's point, that's kryptonite for progressives.
Yeah.
They melt under that kind of gaslighting.
Yeah.
And we were talking about it before the break. AOC no longer melting. It's been a really interesting development. She got in super late to the Nina Turner race, but ever since that moment, she's been way more aggressive and challenging her so-called colleagues a lot more, all the way through to today, when she wouldn't just blanket endorse Biden under heavy pressure by Dana Bash on CNN. So I love to see that fighting spirit, and it looks like it's back a little bit.